Welcome to the deep dive.
Good to be here.
So today we're digging into a bunch of recent articles, some reports, basically trying to get a handle on the current crypto scene.
That's right. Lots happening.
And our goal really is just to cut through all the noise for you. We'll pull out the most important stuff, what's moving in the market, the latest security threats, and what's brewing with U.S. regulation and maybe even strategy around crypto.
Exactly. These sources, they give us a pretty good snapshot. It's a fast-moving space, lots of shifts, plenty of challenges. We want to get you those core insights quick.
Okay, let's get into it then. First up, market activity. One token that, really popped out from the sources was XRP.
Ah, yes, XRP.
Saw it moving around a bit, dipped to like $2.10, then climbed back towards $2.20. But what really caught my eye digging into these articles was analysts warning about potential manipulation.
Yeah, specifically between June 3rd and 6th. That's quite specific.
It is. The idea being maybe bigger players trying to sort of shake out the weaker hands before a potential push higher.
That's the theory mentioned, yeah. And despite that warning, or maybe connected to it, some analysts in these reports are actually quite bullish long-term, talking about XRP hitting, what, $10 by November 2025?
Which would be, a massive jump, like 350% or something.
Huge. Plus, you've got Ripple buying Hidden Road for $1.25 billion. The thinking there seems to be strengthening its position, maybe making XRP a more serious contender as a bridge currency for institutions.
Interesting angle. And while that's going on with XRP, the Bitcoin ETF scene is still really active.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We saw ARK 21 shares announcing a share split, a 3-for-1 split coming up June 16th.
Right, and the logic there with Bitcoin over $100K in these reports is pretty clear.
Yeah, split the shares, lower the price per share, make it potentially more accessible.
More accessible, exactly, for maybe a wider range of investors who might balk at a really high per share price.
And that seems timely, right? Because the sources are also screaming about institutional demand.
You really are. Look at BlackRock's IBIT, a $4.26 billion inflow streak reported.
Oh.
And now holding, what, $72 billion in assets under management? That's the total value they control in that fund.
That kind of money flowing in, it shows some serious conviction from the big players.
It absolutely does.
Okay, so while the market's doing its thing, there's this darker side the sources force us to look at. Security, the numbers are pretty stark.
Yeah, staggering, actually. $2.1 billion stolen in crypto hacks just in 2025, according to these reports.
2.1 billion, and when you drill down,
It gets even more concerning. One incident, the Bybit exchange hack, accounted for $1.4 billion that total.
what a hack.
And attributed to North Korea's Lazarus Group. No, the state-sponsored guys.
Right. That really underscores the scale and, well, the sophistication of threats coming from nation states, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And Certic's analysis, highlighted in the sources, points to something else interesting.
What's that?
A shift in tactics. Fewer complex smart contract exploits, messing with the code, and more towards, well, simpler stuff.
Simpler like how?
Like social engineering, basically tricking people, and direct wallet compromises, just getting straight into someone's digital wallet.
So less about cracking complex code, more about fooling the human or finding a basic security lapse.
Exactly. Their advice is pretty blunt. Tighten up your basic digital security. Be super vigilant, especially, they say, when traveling or at crypto events.
Makes sense. It kind of shifts the focus, doesn't it? Security isn't just for the tech wizards auditing code anymore. It's fundamental awareness for everyone.
It really is. Personal digital hygiene, basically.
Okay, so given these huge security issues and the growing institutional interest we just talked about, maybe it's no surprise Washington seems to be focusing more intently.
Yeah, the U.S. Senate, according to these sources, is definitely pushing forward on crypto legislation.
And one thing that really jumped out was Senator Cynthia Lummis revealing something quite significant.
What was that?
That the U.S. military apparently supports her plan. The plan to acquire 1 million Bitcoin as a strategic reserve.
Wow, okay. The military backing a Bitcoin reserve. That's major, especially, with ongoing U.S.-China tensions mentioned in the background.
Right. It suggests Bitcoin is being seriously looked at through a national security lens at the highest levels.
Why would they support it? The sources hint it could be seen as a potential non-sovereign reserve asset, something outside the traditional system.
And kind of alongside that potential strategic move, Senate GOP leaders are also reportedly working on a stablecoin bill.
Yeah, that's another big piece. The potential impact there could be significant, right?
Mm.
Especially for Treasury holdings.
How so?
Well, the idea seems to be requiring major stablecoin issuers, think Circle, Tether, to back their coins in specific ways. Potentially, the sources suggest, with U.S. Treasuries.
Okay, so that could potentially boost demand for treasuries.
Exactly. So if you put these pieces together,
Mm.
a potential strategic Bitcoin reserve being discussed, and stablecoin regulation that could tie directly into U.S. Treasury holdings.
It could fundamentally change how the U.S. treats crypto, couldn't it?
Totally. Integrating it into both national security thinking and the traditional financial system in ways we haven't really seen before.
Okay, so let's quickly recap this deep dive for you. We've touched on market dynamics, saw some volatility with XRP, but also that strong institutional flow into Bitcoin ETFs.
Right. Then we confronted those pretty alarming security stats, the sheer scale of hacks, the shift towards simpler attack methods, and that huge state actor threat from groups like Lazarus.
Yeah, definitely sobering. And finally, we looked at potential big shifts in the U.S., military interest in Bitcoin as a strategic reserve, moves on stablecoin regulation. It feels like things are heating up there.
Definitely a lot to process.
So here's something to chew on, based just on what we've covered today. You've got this mix. Market volatility, serious security threats, including from nation states, and these high-level U.S. discussions about strategic reserves and regulation all happening at the same time. How does that specific combination of forces shape your view of crypto's role and its future?
Yeah, that confluence. Volatility, security threats, and major government interest all converging. What does that signal to you? Definitely something to think about.